Your appointment setting interview can be the difference between you going back to a full-time job or you having the ability to live anywhere in the world you want, earn money online from appointment setting or high ticket closing, and doing what the hell you want to do, achieving location freedom. So, if you have an interview set up already with an offer and you're doing your best to make sure you kill this interview and you get this job, even if you have no sales experience, then keep watching because I'm going to point out most of the common questions you're going to tackle in the appointment setting interview space. Many of the calls you will get on or interviews you will get on are going to be group interviews. So I'm going to point out what to say in group interviews as well as if it's one-on-one, which is kind of easier than group interviews. Appointment setting is quite tricky because you have to add, especially the interviews, you have to have a very good personality, charming personality, as well as showcasing that you have the skill set to kind of make the company a lot of money. So let's dive into it here. The first question you're going to be asked a lot in group setting or one-on-one setting is the question of tell me about yourself and tell me about your skill set. Well, you should know that this is more like an icebreaker question. It's not to, it's just to figure out who are you and, try to get the ball rolling. What I have always said is like my first ever job was in door-to-door sales, and ever since I haven't left that door-to-door sales environment or customer service environment. What I do 24/7 is sales. That's what I have doubled down on, and that's the skill set I have doubled down on now. And I'm looking for a space right now where I'm trying, where I can increase my prospecting skills, my negotiation skills, and of course my overall closing skill set. Another thing I know you can always say is also using me as an example too. I'm Kevin, and my previous experiences have led me to appointment setting and high ticket sales. I have been involved in over $300,000 per month in revenue for my previous employer as a key holder. I'm not going to waste your time here. I know my job as a setter is not to be a great talker, but to ask the right questions, to get my prospect thinking deeply about their problems. And I'm always putting in daily effort to become better and sounding more like myself in my sales skills rather than just an average salesperson. And right now, I'm curious to learn more about this offer to see how I can make you guys a lot of money. Perfect. Something like that. So those two examples I've given you here, if it's a group interview setting, you've kind of set yourself away from the crowd. You've made yourself look so much better than whoever is going to come after you. Or and it's just a good way to just get the ball rolling. So the one thing I always tell everyone is always be prepared for that question, which is tell me more about yourself. They're always going to ask that question first, or some version of tell me more about yourself. So always be prepared for that. Now, another question that's quite familiar and quite common here is why do you want this role, or what makes you a good candidate for this role? Pretty much they're just trying to qualify you. That's really what it is. They're trying to, put you in a lower status frame and also, force you to qualify yourself to the job. Now you can flip that on the job. So I also think that the interviewer is trying to determine your level of hunger. So what you can do here is just say you don't need to qualify for this job. Instead, you can say, well, I was not exactly sure if I wanted this role. I was just applying for positions, and however, once I got into researching the company and I got to start seeing the vision of the company, where the company is going, and some of the people in the company, I started to be more interested and convince myself more. When I read the daily activities and the job description, it felt like the things I could accomplish, and I'm confident that I can do more daily for this company and help the company make more money. So I'm just willing to see if the company here has an opportunity for me to help you guys make a lot of money. So that's a bit different here, okay? Rather than trying to qualify yourself to the company like somebody who's groveling for a job, you kind of flip it in a way where the company has to kind of qualify to you. That's how I see that. Now, a few more questions I know that are always asked. I'm going to put them on the screen for you here. Some things like, what's your long-term vision or goal? You can kind of bullshit through that. They just kind of want to see if your sales is something you're doubling down on. So just have something in the arena of it has to deal with sales or selling or becoming a better communicator. How do you deal with setbacks in your day-to-day life? They're always going to ask you this question, because they're trying to see how you deal with challenges and how you deal with rejection. That's all they're trying to do. What I always say, especially with appointment setting, is, setbacks are every single day in appointment setting, and they are. You're dealing with setbacks every single day. So, funny thing I always say is, I just go to sleep, I wake up, I feel better. And also the objections that keep me up at night, I research them, and then I always bounce back a little bit better. So I always welcome setbacks. It's a good way to kind of tackle that question. What's your income goal and how much do you want to be making? They just want to know how motivated you are and how much work you're willing to do. They're trying to determine your work ethic. This is another question that you can also bullshit them on. Give them such a high goal where they feel like, oh, you're gonna do well. I say that's the best option here. Rather than saying, you want to make a minimum amount of money, say a maximum amount of money you want to be making. They feel happy, but many cases, you're not really gonna make that much starting out. You need a lot of practice and also consistency in that work. Now, another thing you can also expect to hear is, are you happy working on a commission only basis? Yeah, a lot of opportunities online, especially in this space, are going to be strictly commission, especially because you're a salesperson, right? Salespeople who look for base pays are generally not confident in their sales skill set. This is also why a lot of people get taken advantage of in this space, because most of the opportunities are just fully commissioned. So it's up to you here to determine if the offer is the right fit for you, and if you can, of course, make money in the offer. But always say yes, you're okay with working on a commission only basis. But if you're not confident in your sales skill set, like you're starting out, you don't have good work ethic, well, then go for the base pay. If you feel like you're more of a customer service person than actually a salesperson, well, go for the base pay. It's just a safer bet for you. So another question is, give me an example of a time you overcame a hard objection or a hard situation and how you did it. I usually have a situation in my head that I kind of play out and kind of explain. Didn't happen, never happened. But it's good to have a story in place of how you dealt with a hard objection. I don't use real examples, but I use somewhat of a fictional example. However, the steps on how to approach that is well explained. Like, for example, one thing I usually say is, while I was working at as a key holder at a convenience store, I had a customer who came in who was just screaming and just annoyed and slightly drunk, just screaming at everybody, and just causing a ruckus because he got the wrong item. Well, he came in and what I had to do in that case, because I was an assistant manager or a stand-in manager, is I had to approach him not as a person who needed to be helped per se, but someone who just needed to be listened to, and someone who needed to be empathized with. So rather than trying to judge him where he was, I understood that it was not about me or what's happened. It was about something else. So approaching him and just befriending him, and approaching from a point of like, hey, what's going on here? Like, we're here to help you. Like, there's no need for all this stuff. If you want to scream, but what can we do for you right now? Like, I don't like seeing you like this. Like, what's up? I've seen you like, looking so much better, feeling so much happier. What can I help with? I don't like seeing you like this. And then treating the guy as a friend, and then deflating the situation very, very slowly, up to a point where at the end he started apologizing, and he became one of our best customers, always returning and befriending some of our cashiers, because we kind of built a genuine friendship with him. It's bullshit, it's fictional, of course, but it's an example you can say if you have a customer service background and no sales background, where you kind of dealt with an objection. However, if you've dealt with an objection, you can always give examples of how you dealt with an objection. Like, for example, one thing I also think about is someone who was I was talking with this guy, and his case was he was not able to his problem was he was not able to go to work and he was not able to go to work because some things happened in his life. And while discussing with him, I kind of had to just be vulnerable myself and just tell him some things that were just very personal, even for me. That was how I was able to finally get him to open up and tell me what the problem really was, which was he was kind of disappointed. He was not liking his family. He was not liking his wife. And that's why he did not feel the need the desire to kind of go to work. So little tricky in that case there, but it's an objection that also I have dealt with in real life, where I had to be so vulnerable with somebody to kind of help them drop their guard too. So things like that, have these stories in mind. They will kind of help you through the process of your interview. But of course, the first two that I did speak about, that differentiates you vastly from the crowd if you're much prepared for those questions. Otherwise, if you have any other questions, feel free to comment. If you're looking for a way to get into the appointment setting space or the high ticket closing space, reach out to me. I know how to get you an appointment setting role within 7 days or less. Help you set up everything so that you're much more confident going out and getting your dream role and traveling where you need to be and living the lifestyle that you deserve. Otherwise, make it a great day, guys. Peace.